Hello and welcome to Full Stack E-commerce Challenge. This is a 5-day challenge. Each day you will receive one video and today is day 1. I am now starting this e-commerce challenge. In this challenge, we are going to build an e-commerce application from very scratch, from zero to finish, to production, using database, authentication and everything a full stack application uses. So how and what, everything I am going to explain now. So as you can see, this is my screen and we will go to Excalibur to understand what are the things we need to understand first. Now here we will design our e-commerce application. So what are the things we need? E-commerce app. Let me zoom it a little bit. So what does an e-commerce app consist inside it? Okay. So a full stack application. What is a full stack application? A full stack application is something that consists of front end, that consists back end. Front end and back end have their internal parts, which we will discuss. Not the parts word would not be a correct word, but yeah, you can understand that they consist more inside them. So I'm trying to make you understand the overall picture of how a full stack application works. Okay, so why there is need of front end and back end? Why we can't create a single application that has front end and back end and all inside it? Yes, we can create. That is called PHP. But here we are learning another tech stack that's why we need front end and back end. In PHP, you can directly send the files you need to render on your browser from your back end, and the browser will render everything. So as you can see, you can understand that this is client browser, this is browser. Here is the user or the person who is searching about your website, who is entering the URL on your website. So let's assume my website is clubofcoders.com. So you are entering Club of Coders. And if you open the terminal by going to View and Developer and go to JavaScript console, you will see the console over here. So now if you hit console.log and go to the network tab over here and click on all. If you click Club of Coders, first of all, what are the stuff we are seeing? There are a lot of requests that are coming in. What is happening here? First of all, there is something 14 KB of that took 1 second. This is a document that server sent. This is a document the server sent. Now, this document contains our website. You can see, okay. This is just like a message. We are sending a request to a fixed IP or a fixed domain name. We are saying that give me the data. So the backend or the website, the IP is sending us again that this is your website. And now this is all the data our browser is rendering. This is not what we are doing. This is the browser which is doing everything. Now it consists a smaller stuff inside it. It consists head. It is the HTML. It consists head. It consists body. Two things, head and body. Inside head, there are some meta tags that are like the general description, the general things about the website. Like what is the title of the website? You can see Club of Coders learn to build mobile and web application. It consists what are the OG image. So if you copy it and if you go to this, you can see this is the OG image. If you send clubofcoders.com to someone, they will be able to see this in their WhatsApp or on their Twitter application. They will be able to see this image. Okay. Now we have other things. We have Twitter cards. We have, so all this stuff like the meta stuff is the metadata of the website or the web application here. Okay. Now we have some links over here. Okay. So the links are connecting CSS. So there are 3 parts inside a web application that are HTML, CSS and JavaScript. This is the main things that helps our website to render in the browser. So this is the HTML. Now you can see these are some fonts. These are some fonts. These are some CSS. So we can also write CSS inside HTML, but we are using some frameworks that are built on top of JavaScript that helps us to write code faster and helps to ship our web websites and mobile applications faster. Here we are talking about mobile applications. Now the server sent this script. Okay. Now the server will say these are the other script that needs to be rendered, that needs to be injected into the website to make the website run, or website will not work without these scripts. Okay. So let's assume if you remove all these scripts, you remove all the scripts, the website will not work. So how can you test this? If you go to application, if you go to where is this sources, in the sources we have static. In the static we can see all the chunks that consist of our website. JavaScript, this is all the pages that our website consists, all the CSS our website has, all the media our website has, the fonts, all the background images, the favicon of our website, and every other script that website is rendering. You can see there is Google Tag Manager, you can see there is YouTube, you can see there is Club of Orders, Analytics, everything. Okay, so how this is working, the browser entered a URL in the browser. Okay, the user has entered a URL in the browser is sending a request that give me the website, and server is sending the whole HTML with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, everything. And then after it is given to the browser, then browser will check what are the script, what are the CSS, what is the HTML, and then it will render according to its internal logic, the browser. So here browser is doing everything. We are just sending it HTML, CSS, and JS. And HTML, CSS, JS, you can design websites and browser will render it. That's why we sometimes see that this browser is not working for this website, this browser is not working great for this website, some element is missing, some element is having difficulties rendering this specific button or CSS thing or something. So this is what the browser task. So that's why people say that use Chrome, so the web developers can make their life easier, because sometimes a lot of different browsers has different stuff. That's why some complexities happen. So here, after entering the URL, the server is sending everything to the browser. Okay, here enter URL, the server. Here is our server. It is sending a request to our server. This is our server. Okay, the server is secret where we have stored everything. Server. Inside server, we have our database. Inside server, we have our environment variables, which are very secret passwords that helps us to connect with other applications or our applications. Like if you are using a database can be SQL database or a NoSQL database. We will use SQL database for our e-commerce application. I am giving a general overview for those who don't know what and how a website works. But we are going to jump into something called TRPC. That is basically a framework and a boilerplate starter code that helps us to build our websites faster. So it is a cheat code for building websites. Here, very secret environment variable server database. After receiving the request, we are sending a response. We are sending a response to browser that this is and the response contains our website front end. Okay, web front. So what the user will see. Okay, we are not sending the user every secret we have. We are just sending the required data so that the browser can render a website. After receiving the web front end, okay, so now the browser, this is the browser, and browser has rendered everything inside it. Okay, so the browser has rendered everything inside it. Now what we need to do, this is our website. Okay, our website. We have not given all the data to it, because if our database consists a lot of data, we should not give everything to the front end. We will only give what a user requires, what a user needs. Okay, so now we have the website. A website has authentication. How authentication works? So first of all, here is user. Now the user will authenticate himself. User will say that this is my email, and it will give it to our backend. Okay, now the user will give an email to the backend, and the user will say, this is my email, give me the required data that belongs to me. First, we will authenticate that this is the correct user, and this is the user who is passing us the correct information. For that, we will implement some custom logic that is required for authentication, like using Google authentication or email authentication or some flows to verify that this user is the correct owner of the email or the ID that he is or she is sending from the front end. After we have got many requests, we give the required data to front end, and this is how it works. So I'm just giving a upper level, or what I would say is top level overview of how a full stack application works. Now we will directly jump into building a full stack e-commerce application. Why we are building an e-commerce application? Because e-commerce application can be used in many aspects, and e-commerce is a very, very important part of our web economy. Okay, if you see Shopify helps many businesses to survive. Okay, so a lot of businesses use e-commerce websites to create their own stores, to create their own specific according to their needs stores. And like if they are selling some ebooks, they are selling some course. If you see cluboforders.com, here you can purchase some courses over here. Okay, so this is also a kind of e-commerce website. Okay, it is not like selling products. Instead of t-shirts, instead of whatever in any product, we have courses. So courses is our product. Okay, so this is what a general overview of everything. Now, if you don't know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, if you don't know how web works, you can go to Free Code Camp, and if you go to Free Code Camp, here you will learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript on the basic stuff. Okay, so in the menu, if you get it started for free, they will ask for an email, I think, yeah. So if you go to YouTube, you will be able to find HTML, CSS and JavaScript tutorials on the internet. It is very basic. So HTML, CSS, JS. Okay, so you can see W3 Schools. It doesn't ask for email. You can see there are very basic exercises which you can take if you don't know HTML, CSS, JavaScript. But I would say before jumping into this tutorial, this is going to be complex if you don't know HTML, CSS and JavaScript and React, little bit of React as well. React is very necessary if you want to jump into building web applications that are highly scalable, that can be scalable to multiple functionalities and whatnot. Okay, here in this full 5-day challenge, we are going to learn TRPC, or what I would say fully stack, not fully stack, T3 stack basically. So if you search T3 stack, you can go to create.t3.gg. This is our boilerplate code which we will use to initialize our application. Okay, this provides us authentication, this provides us database, this provides us everything we need to create a full stack application on our own, and we are going to deploy this application to a server as well. Okay, so how to start this? First of all, you need to install a few things. You need to install Node.js. You need to install Node.js. You need to install NPM. But if you install Node.js, NPM will be automatically installed. So if you search NPM install, and you will be able to not this one. So NPM is a node package manager that is needed for managing other source code, open source codes. Okay, so this is Create T3 app. It is also open source. What is NPM? NPM basically, you can understand everything you can't write on your own. Okay, so we have already some community packages that are already given to us by awesome open source community that we can use inside our mobile and web applications to make our life easier. We can directly run npm install this, npm install that, and the code will be available inside our directory in which we are working, and then we can utilize the code who is written by some other person. This is what coding looks like. Okay, so in the most of our time, we always use other people code, and it's what we do. Okay, so this is why the developer community is awesome. We always should be very grateful to open source community and GitHub, so that's why we are able to build the application. Otherwise, there is no chance we can build all these cool applications. So now you can see it is giving us some options. We will use PNPM. So you can also install PNPM install if you don't have PNPM installation. So first of install Node.js, install PNPM, then you need to install VS Code because we are going to use VS Code. Okay, after VS Code, you should also install a few packages because we are going to use Tailwind CSS. So Tailwind CSS IntelliSense VS Code. So there is a package called Tailwind CSS IntelliSense that helps us to write CSS very faster. Okay, if you don't have basic React knowledge, what I would suggest is go to Club of Coders, go to this live section. Okay, not here. Go to this video section and sort them by popularity. And here you can see this is a full stack e-commerce website using Next.js. This is older tutorial, but it consists basic React knowledge. Okay, we are going to use now TRPC and a better tech stack than this video. This video consists simple React and use effects and simple tools. That is like using a very native approach, or I would say a very basic approach of building web applications. If you click here, I have taught how you can build a fully stack e-commerce application, but this is mostly using another technology. This is directly using Supabase into the client using Tailwind CSS. But today's tutorial, we are going to use everything fresh, everything new, every new technology that exists in the Create T3. This is what we are going to use. You can see we are going to use Next.js, TypeScript, TRPC. We are going to use Prisma, Tailwind CSS, Nextauth, and all good stuff. Okay. So first of all, how to start? So open your terminal if you are on Mac. If you are Windows, do the same thing. If you are not able to use terminal, install Git terminal on Windows. So you can install this Git terminal and it will be good to go. You can download and that's all. So first of all, create a directory, or first of all, here go to Create T3 app, copy this command, which is PNPM, and now we will go to change directory. I will go to the specific directory where I want to start my project. So I will go to desktop, I will go to YouTube, and that's all. And here I will paste this command which I have copied from the create.t3.gg website. Copy this, paste here, PNPM create t3-app@latest, and I would write the name of the folder which we want to create, basically our e-commerce application. So I would say 5 days e-commerce. And now it will ask us a few questions. What the tech stack you want to use? So let's wait for some time. It will now ask us that what you want to use, TypeScript or JavaScript. As I said, we are using TypeScript. Will you be using Tailwind CSS for styling? Yes. Would you like to use TRPC? Yes, we are going to use TRPC. Would you like authentication provider? We are going to use authentication using Nextdot. Okay, so you can pass the Nextdot over here, or you can also select none. Why? Because we are going to use Supabase for authentication, because Supabase is easier for beginners. Okay, Nextdot means basically you have to handle your own auth, but Nextdot will does 90% of it. You will have to handle 10% part of configuring everything. But if you will use Supabase will handle 99% of your authentication. You will just need to do a very few stuff inside your application. So we will say we don't want to use Nextdot, so none. What database ORM would you like to use? Here you can select Prisma or you can select Drizzle, but here we can use Prisma or we can use Drizzle. But for this tutorial, I am going to select Drizzle because Drizzle is faster. Drizzle is like writing SQL queries, and Drizzle will help you in future as well. If you use Prisma, Prisma is not very helpful, or I would say Prisma is not in very demand as for now. Drizzle is more popular these days, and when I am using Prisma for one of my project, I am using Drizzle for all the other project, but the Prisma project was very slow. The queries were slow. That's why I have moved to Drizzle, and that's why I will recommend, in my opinion, you should use Drizzle ORM as well. So now I will select Drizzle. You can see, would you like to use Next.js app router? And here I will select no, I don't want to use Next.js app router, because Next.js app router is the latest thing in the Next.js ecosystem, and we want to stick to the Pages router and make our life easier. Next.js app router is good if you want to use directly server rendered application. What is Next.js app router? What is Pages router? You should not be worried if you are on the beginner level. Just do what I am doing. Select no. Okay. What database provider would you like to use? Okay, so we are going to use PostgreSQL database. Should you initialize a GitHub? Yes, we can initialize. Should we run pnpm install for you? Click yes. You should have pnpm installed inside your application before doing this thing, and install VS Code and everything. Okay. Now you can, what import aliases would you like to use? So we can say @/. Hit enter, and it will successfully initialize everything. And now it is installing the dependency. It will be completed in 1-2 minutes. And that's good. Now you can see it has given us the instruction to start our server, start our application, change directory to this. Okay, and now we will open our code editor. So to open our code editor, what you can do is code space dot. You can open directly inside the current location where you are, the code editor. Okay, so now you can see my code editor is opened. You can close things. Now here you can see this is our source code. Here we will write our code for our full stack application. In the source code, you can go to Pages. They have also given us to start a Dockerized container for our PostgreSQL database. Here you can see they have given us a way to initialize a Postgres database. Okay, but we are not going to use this script. Instead, we are going to use Supabase. For here, you can create an account by going to supabase.com and go to dashboard and create a project just like it. So you can create a new project. You can select your region, which is the closest to yours. It will be your production database, and it is good. I will select the region near me. I will say e-commerce challenge. Type a strong password, generate and copy this. Remember this because we will need it later. Create a new project. Now we will go to env, and I will paste my database password here, so we can remember this later. Here we have given a few other keys as well. Okay, so we will copy this public key. We will say Supabase NN key, and this key can be publicly available. So what we will do, we will type next public Supabase NN key. Okay, next public Supabase NN key. This is our Supabase NN key. Now we need another thing is next public Supabase URL, and go to the project setting. Now our project is ready to be set up. Go to API section, copy this URL, paste it here. Now we have our Supabase URL. You can wrap all the URL and this stuff inside comma, or if you don't want to wrap, you can avoid. Okay, so now we have our database URL, our next public Supabase URL, and next public Supabase NN key. The next public means our variables can be publicly accessible. These are the variables that can be accessed by a user by looking into the consoles, but we can't directly make our database URL publicly available. If you make your database URL publicly available, someone can hack your database and all your data will be gone. Okay. Nasty things can happen if you make your database URL public. So remember, if you use next public, it will be public. If you use simple variable, it won't be public on the client. Okay. Now we need another thing, which is database URL. So click on the database on the left side and copy this URL. Okay. So there are two things, transaction mode and session mode. We will copy the transaction URL. Copy this thing here. What is transaction? What is session? Because if you use a Next.js application will be deployed to a serverless environment. There are two environments, server environment and serverless environment. Server environment means you have a virtual machine set up on AWS or DigitalOcean or Render or somewhere that is running always. Okay, so you have $5, $10 instance or a cloud, basically, if you say, that is running always. So that is our server. If you host the Next.js application there, you should use a session URL. If you host your application, if you host your Next.js application on Vercel helps us to deploy our Next.js web application easily, very easily. So if you deploy there, you should use transaction mode. So you can change the mode here. But here we are going to use transaction mode. In future, if you deploy to a particular environment, I will tell you that you should use this URL. So now you can paste the URL, and here the password we have copied, paste the password over here. Now this is our database URL. Everything is good. Okay. If you go to Club of Coders, if you go to 5-day challenge, today's plan is to project setup and planning. Okay. So we will plan how we are going to build this application. Okay. So this is the project setup we are doing. Okay. So we have our authentication and Supabase and database stuff ready. So we have now completed our authentication, not as a whole, but we have now set up a basic part that is required for authentication and database. Okay. Now we will understand how a full stack application works. Okay. So let me open my iPad screen where I can write and I can make you understand faster. So this is our database, and if you go to table editor, here we will create all the tables we need. Okay. And we will design the database. We will create the front end. We will integrate payments. We will do everything that is needed for a full stack project very easily. Okay. Now let me connect the iPad so I can make you understand how stuff works. Now we will understand how an e-commerce application works. We will understand it on a very top level. Then we will go through and we will set up our. So we have now, as you can see, we have now completed our database and authentication in setup using Supabase. We have initialized our project. Now we will try to understand how an e-commerce application works. Okay. So if you can see, this is a e-commerce application. First of all, we will have user authentication. Okay. So when user has signed up, we can identify who is this user. We can send this user ID to backend and we can retrieve the related data. Okay. Now this is the user auth. Then what we will do, user auth. So there is a user ID something. So we can get, so there are few APIs we need to build for this project. Okay. The first API is get orders of the user. Okay. So we can say, give me the users of this, or give me the orders of this user using the user ID. Get cart items. We can also, now these are the user specific APIs that we need to build. What is API? So first of all, as I told you, this is the browser, and the browser contains front end. Okay, so the browser has front end. It sends the request to backend. So backend is server logic that we define. Server. Okay, so this is a server, and it sends the request. This is our database. Okay, this is our DB, and the database contains our data. Okay, now the server will say, front end we are sending the user ID. It will go to here. Backend will recognize what is this user ID, what is supposed to do. So all the logic, all the business logic, all the application logic, all is inside backend. Now the backend will say, okay, we need this data. So let's ask the database. So backend will now ask the database. So the front end we are using Next.js. Okay. The APIs that we are building are using gRPC. The database we are using Supabase database. Okay. We can use any database, Supabase Postgres database. So the Postgres database, gRPC API, the backend, and we are using TypeScript functions to write all the logic inside our APIs. So what will happen is browser, API, backend, and database. This is the flow. In the browser, we are using Tailwind CSS to style our website. Okay, this is a very important thing. Tailwind CSS is used for styling our application. Next.js is used for building all the pages, building all the API logic, building not the API, API calling logic, okay? API TRPC, this is Next.js backend. API, also we need authentication, okay? So we can't allow anybody to access our backend directly, so we need auth, and for that we are using Supabase auth, okay? Just like we have this user specific APIs, so these are the user specific APIs or the data we need from the server. What are the admin specific? So assume you are an admin of the e-commerce website. What are the things you need? You need to create a product. You need to create a product. You need to update a product, get all the products. Okay, you need to get all the products, like all the product details and everything. So get all the product, create or update a product, or delete a product if you want to delete. So these are the admin stuff. So admin can create, delete, update, or do anything with the products on the website. Now this is our landing page or the home page of our application. Here contains sign up or login. Here we will list all of our products on the website, just like, okay. So how we get all these products? So we have a public route. So basically anybody can see our products on the website. So this is a public route, okay. What this public route contains? This public route contains the logic for getting all the, so we will call an API. So we something like this, we will say, hey backend, give me all the products that are available, okay. We will say get all products. When someone clicks this product, so this product have an ID, okay, ID. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4th product, this is 5th product. When someone clicks this product, we will redirect the user to a new page called this is product 5, and we will ask our database, so give me get product 5. So give me the product 5, and when we list all the details of the product 5, we will also implement a upload functionality using Supabase upload, okay. We can use Supabase, or we can use something called Cloudflare R2 buckets or S3 bucket, okay. This is our 5th thing. Now we have if the user who is visiting this web page likes this, what we can do, we can enable a buy now button. If user clicks on buy now button, what will happen? The user will be redirected to Stripe page. We will use Stripe to handle payments. Now what will happen? After the Stripe will accept the payment, and Stripe will tell us that this user has completed the payment. Now you can process the order, okay. Now on the admin, we will receive a request of complete this order after success, after payment success. Who will tell us about the payment success? Stripe. So Stripe will call our API. So there is a way that we can specify an API on the Stripe dashboard, and Stripe will call our API, means Stripe will communicate to our server. This is our server, and Stripe will call an API to our server, okay. It is called a webhook, okay. Stripe will say this is the user ID is this, product ID is this, and this user has paid the amount, paid. Now complete the order. Now we will use this both in our API, that is called webhook. We will say this is the user and this is the product. Give this user this product, complete this purchase, okay. And then we will receive the order inside our backend. After this, after completing the order, here, but we will check. If we check, there is one check, okay, before buying, unauthenticated user cannot buy, okay. We need to authenticate users before they purchase any of the item. So we will say buy now. Before clicking the buy now button, if the user is authenticated, we will say we will redirect them to Stripe page. If they are not authenticated, we will redirect them to which page? We will redirect them to login or logout page, login page. This is how simple is this. Or if we don't want to enable the user to complete the authentication before purchasing any, we can directly tell them that put your details, put your address, and then we will proceed the order. We will send this order to you. Okay, so this is how a full application works. Okay, and we can get orders, and then when the user goes to a dashboard, after this order is completed, the user will go to orders, and we will call the get orders API list all orders. Here we will list users all order and the status of the order, if it is processed or not. Okay, now this is the whole flow of building. Okay, what is happening? Let me go through the whole process. First, there is authentication, where user can authenticate themselves so that our server can recognize who is this user. Then they can get their order, get their cart, insert items into cart. So we will create all the APIs for them. Okay, so this is the whole basic structure of how a full stack application work. Okay, first of all, there is Supabase auth we are going to use. Okay, so this is the thing. First, user can log in, sign up. They can see all the products. They can click on the products. They can go to a specific page where they can buy a product. After buying, we will check if they have authenticated or not. If they authenticated, we will redirect the user to a Stripe page. Stripe will say this user has paid. We will update the user payment status, and then we will complete the order status, and then user can see all the orders on their orders page. That's the whole thing. This is very simple. What are the things that I mentioned? A few things: orders, cart has items are products, Stripe calling over API to update us payment status. It's Stripe job to tell us that this user has completed the payments. Orders, cart, Stripe. What the other thing? Admin. Inside admin, there is a CRUD functionality. This is called CRUD. Create, read, update, delete products. Admin. But only users can only read the data. They cannot manipulate the data. They cannot change the product. They can only read the data. So this is the whole thing. Okay, now in the next videos, we will proceed and we will build this application. So now as we have understand every term of our e-commerce application, what we will do, we will open our terminal and we will start the application using npm run dev. Here you can see in the pages, we have API. Inside the API, we have all the server stuff. So this is our secret APIs, secret stuff. This is our front end. This is our public stuff. Here we can change this thing, and this all will be reflected on the client. You can see, if you change 1, 2, 3, you can see this is being changed on the client. This is our client, and this is our server. Inside the server, we have API. Inside routes, we have some routes that are predefined by TRPC, but we will change them in upcoming video. These are the functions that are needed for building our application logic and our business logic. This is the database in which we will define all the schemas. Like you can see, for the demo purpose, we have currently a post. If you are building a social media application or something, you can create a post that contains name and when it is created, what is the ID. Just like we have learned and I have explained you on my iPad screen, how everything working, how everything is connected between them, how we are going to implement the authentication and every other thing. If you go to utils, this is the hook. This is the React hook we are going to use to call our backend APIs. Okay, so front end needs to call the backend. Connection between front end to backend is called API. So we have learned how everything works, how an e-commerce application works on a very top and basic level. From the next video on the day 2, what we are going to do, if you go to Club of Coders /5-day challenge, here you can see on the day 2, we are going to create the front-end user interface. We are going to create the admin dashboard. We are going to create the home page of our application. We are going to create the product page of our application. After this, we are going to build the authentication. So all the client, all the front-end basic stuff, how to design a basic website. That is the part of day 2. Okay, so if you are excited, if you have learned something today, that's very cool. That's very great. And from the day 2, we will get into more the building part. Today I will try to explain you on a very top level, and we have did a lot of things. If you have completed today's video, that's very cool. That's very great. Thank you for watching this video. And this is a very basic project that we are building. This project is very common these days. But if you are a beginner, you need to start. Okay, you need to start somewhere. And after this challenge, if you are comfortable, you can visit these courses as well. Okay, so these are some advanced level courses that you can show to someone and they will be surely impressed with your skills. We are going to learn a lot of skills in the upcoming days. There are 4 days remaining and we are going to learn a lot of stuff in those days. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you on day 2.